I have compiled for my own benefit a note of all the big policy matters affecting the media that arose in my time as Prime Minister. But this note also demonstrates in detail the strange coincidence in how News International and the then Conservative opposition came to share almost exactly the same media policy. So close, Mr. Speaker, that it was often expressed in almost exactly the same words. On the future of the licence fee, on BBC Online, on the right of the public to see free of charge the maximum number of national sporting events, on the future of the BBC commercial arm, on the integrity of Ofcom. When we stood up for what we believed to be the public interest, it was indeed very difficult when the opposition invariably reclassified the public interest as the News International interest. And Mr. Speaker, it is for the Commission of Inquiry now to examine not just the promises of the opposition in opposition, but also the many early decisions of the new government on these very matters. Now, Mr. Speaker, during the last year of our government, information became public suggesting that the hacking of phones and indeed of computers went far beyond one rogue reporter and far beyond one rogue newspaper. In February 2010, the Culture Committee reported the number of victims as more than the handful previously claimed. They said it was inconceivable that no one else at News International, other than those convicted, was in the know. News International, he said, was guilty of deliberate obfuscation. But already in August 2009, Assistant Commissioner Yates of Scotland Yard had taken only 8 hours, less time, I may say, than he spent dining with the people he should have been investigating, to preemptively reject a further police inquiry. And even the proposal, Mr. Speaker, that an outside police force take over the Scotland Yard inquiry had been rejected. So, having seen the Select Committee report, I immediately asked the head of the Civil Service to agree that we set up a judicial inquiry. Far from the so-called cosy relationship alleged with News International that would have meant doing nothing, my answer to what appeared to be News International's abuse of press freedom was a full judge-led inquiry to meet growing public concern. And let me summarise the formal advice contained in a memorandum to me rejecting such inquiry. That while there were some new facts, there was a media culture permissive of unlawful activities and deliberate obfuscation by News International. The Select Committee did not believe that the practices were still continuing and thus did not meet the test of urgent public concern, that time had elapsed and evidence may have been destroyed, that the News of the World and individuals had already been punished by resignations and jail terms, that there was no evidence of systemic failure in the police, and anyway all their decisions had been checked with the Crown Prosecution Service, and that targeting the News of the World could be deemed to be politically motivated because it was too close to the general election and would inevitably raise questions over the motivation and urgency of an inquiry.